Hello again, St. Thomas and Grace family. This is Reverend Rachel. I'm sitting here with a view of my apple orchard because the spiritual practice that I thought I'd mention briefly and then try on with you, and probably with my cat who's feeling very affectionate today, is one that again comes from the Celtic tradition of Christianity. And this comes from the rootedness of the Celts, the people in England, when they encountered the Christian religion, like many cultures in the world, before the Industrial Revolution, before a whole series of things, were very rooted, had a very different relationship with the land than we do now. So a lot of their relationship to the land became an essential part of their expression of their Christian faith. So it's not unusual in accounts that have survived from the Middle Ages or earlier, from the British Isles, to have mention of something that the Celts would call the Book of Nature. So they talk about the Book of Scriptures and they talk about the Book of Nature. And actually, St. Francis talks about this as well. So this is not confined to the Celtic tradition. This has been a broad range of expression throughout Christianity's history to draw on the Book of Nature. And these two books were considered to be necessary for each other. So the Book of Nature would need scriptures as a way to interpret what nature is communicating. And scriptures need nature to fill out, as many of us know, it wouldn't take much imagination to come up with some of the incredibly beautiful metaphors and language that Jesus uses to talk about the kingdom of heaven. He often draws on the Book of Nature himself to do so. And I'm smiling because I just had a phoebe, which is a flycatcher, a kind of bird, come and perch about 10 feet away from me. And they have a very loud voice and a very loud presence in the woods. So thinking about speaking, thinking about proclaiming the gospel and the Book of Nature is always here to remind us about that. So the practice that I'd like to invite you into, and that I will do, draws on this idea, as I mentioned, of the Book of Nature. And for the Celts, this made manifest in a couple of ways, and one of them is in the beautiful prayer attributed to St. Patrick, known as St. Patrick's Breastplate, where as a part of the prayer, toward the end of it, it's Christ before me, Christ beside me, Christ within me, Christ to guide me, to lead me. And this prayer has become a beloved part of our tradition and is quite often used at ordinations, for example, among other things. So what I learned from a friend of mine named Liz is a chant, a short sung version of the St. Patrick's Breastplate that I will sing probably 3 times, one for the Creator, one for the Son, and one for the Holy Ghost. And I invite you to take this practice up and to sing it 3 times yourself, or to sing it more. I've found in the last 2 days that I've been singing this song just over and over, sometimes up to 10 or 15 minutes. And I invite you, as you sing, and I will do this as I sing, there are some hand motions that go along with the song, which I'll do, and hopefully you'll be able to see them. And when you're singing this, when you're engaged in this practice, to really lean into the different directions. So it'll be, Christ be with me, Christ be for me, and it'll be to my left, my right, above me. And I invite you, as you do that, to really imagine and acknowledge the reality that Christ exists and is being drawn forth by everything that has breath, by everything that is alive. Because as we are reminded in scriptures, and as our tradition reminds us, as the Celts certainly remind us, all of nature is a theodicy. is a viewing of God. Nature moves because God invites it to, because God finds joy in it. So as I sing, I invite you to let your imagination play with the reality that Christ is dwelling in all things and bringing all things into their fullness. So I'll sing this through 3 times. Christ be with me, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ below me, Christ to the left of me, Christ above me, Christ to the right of me, Christ within me. Christ be with me, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ below me, Christ to the left of me, Christ above me, Christ to the right of me, Christ within me. One more time, and I'll move my angle so you can see my hand motions more than the trees, as much as I hate to take you from the trees. Christ be with me, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ below me, Christ to the left of me, Christ above me, Christ to the right of me, Christ within me. One more time. Christ be with me, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ below me, Christ to the left of me, Christ above me, Christ to the right of me, Christ within me. And I'll end our meditation this time with a prayer for stillness. And this is a prayer that I'm drawing from surprisingly, from the Celtic tradition, brought through the voice of, again, John Philip Newell. And this time, the Book of Creation. And this is a prayer that comes, I'll have to look up exactly where he got this from, but it's from a series of nighttime benedictions. And let me actually do this very quickly. Stillness. Oh, it's from the Carmina Gadelica again. So that's that collection of prayers and poems from the Hebrides, the islands in the north of Scotland, that were written down and curated in the 18th century. So this comes from the Carmina Gadelica. And I invite this prayer as a moment of stillness, as an invitation to feel Christ with me, before me, behind me, below me, to my left, above me, to my right, within me. Christ in all things. And may this assurance, may this stillness bless each of us today, through the night ahead, through the day tomorrow, and all of our days. So this prayer for stillness at the moment of sleep. I lie down this night with God, and God will lie down with me. I lay down this night with Christ, and Christ will lie down with me. I lie down this night with the Spirit, and the Spirit will lie down with me. God and the Christ and the Spirit be lying down with me. May you remember that God is with you in your waking up, in your lying down, in your movement and in your stillness, before you, behind you, beneath you, to the left of you, above you, to the right of you, and within you. Amen.